It's the last of it here, but Battle Hill, by the way, really good. Very light, very, very light. It's a Scotch whiskey. It's very light. One of 3,000 bottles made there. I had some the other day with a neighbor, and I thought, okay, this was really good. It is nothing like this one, if you've been following along, Jacob's Pardon. Very strong, very, very citrusy, light on the florals and everything, but incredibly spicy. Battle Hill, actually, very good. It's a single malt Scotch whiskey. It might be a favorite. I don't know where it stands price-wise. I don't remember. What I do is I go to the store and I go, well, hey, we got to do these Jazz After Darks. I ask a lady, I go through a bunch of different things. I get like 6 bottles and we call it a day. So I'm not sure, but check it out. It's actually really, really good. All right, tonight what we're going to talk about, by the way, Jazz After Dark is a hangout class. I'm doing this from my home here. We're just relaxing, having a good time. And so this is going to talk about conversions. Now, these come up a lot. Why? Because it's almost November, right? And so people think, I better get on it, right? Their accountant's calling them saying, hey, you only made so much. Why don't you consider converting? Remember 2 things here. The number 1 thing is the accountants are not wrong, right? They want to save you the most amount of money in the given tax year that you're about to experience paying taxes in. The second thing is the advisor, the financial advisor, Jazz Wealth, right? Us guys here, we want to save you the greatest amount of taxes over your entire life. And if that means that we sacrifice this year for the next 20 years to make sure you pay less tax, we're going to do that. So there's nothing wrong with either side. The accountants want to make sure you pay the least amount of tax now. I go, well, if you pay more tax now, but it means you pay less tax over the rest of your life and it means you end up with more money, okay, I would like that option. I know that's what I want for myself. So we're going to talk about when not to convert, okay? And the first one's really, really simple. You do not convert when the stock market is at all-time highs, which is basically where we're at right now, right? So we're almost at all-time highs. If we get right here, we'll be at all-time highs. And as of the time of me recording this, we're almost there, but we're not quite there. We have a futures market at the moment that is leading us almost to all-time highs. Think about why we say that. We don't want to convert when our portfolio values are so high because the IRS only sees the amount that you convert. Let's say you have an IRA with $20,000 in it, just as a simple example. Well, the value of that back in June may have been $17,000. Well, now it's worth $20,000. The IRS is going to ask you to pay tax on $20,000. So we want to convert when the market value of our account is lower. It's the hardest time to do it, by the way. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's very difficult. But if we do it then, the IRS sees $17,000. They don't see $20,000. What do? We take the 17, we move it into the Roth, you pay tax on the 17. By the time we get to some point, now it's worth 20. But the IRS doesn't get to tax you on 20, it gets to tax you on 17. So totally legal, but we want to consider that. Don't convert when the stock market is at all-time highs. This is tricky because what is it? It is essentially going to be November. That means we have all of November and all of December. The clock is ticking, right? You can't do conversions up till tax day. You can do them till the end of the calendar year. So I know it puts a little pressure, right? But we have elections coming up, stuff can happen. And also, this is the S&P. What if your portfolio is more Russell 2000 oriented, small caps? What if your portfolio is more Bitcoin oriented? Actually, I don't know if that's going to be totally true. What if your portfolio is more oil oriented? Well, then you may be able to convert now. So don't just let me sit here and paint the picture of the S&P being higher. If your portfolio is not S&P focused and it's oil focused, God forbid, gold focused, right? There's a night and day difference there. Gold is at all-time or almost all-time highs. And then you got oil sitting down near lows for the year. So that's the first thing I want you to consider. Don't convert when the value of your account is near all-time highs. And that's probably the most eloquent way to say it. The second thing is, don't convert. Let's pretend you're married filing jointly, okay? And one of you got laid off and the other one stayed at home with the kids or whatever. If you're married filing jointly and you are going to make around $100,000 in total income. I'm talking the sale of assets, your W-2 income, business income, royalties, whatever it may be. If you're going to make around $100,000, if you want to be super smart, it's going to be $95,000 right in there. If that's what's going to happen and you're married filing jointly, and you are about 60 years of age, don't stop. There is a 10% difference in you converting almost a single dollar versus just holding tight. Just wait a minute, ease up a little bit. Because the bracket from 12% to 22%, 10% difference, is around 95,000. I can't remember if it's 95,600 or 400, but you can look it up and you can see. So if we find ourselves getting up around that range and we're about 60 years old, we may not want to convert. It's highly probable you may not want to convert unless you have incredible sums of money in an IRA or 401k or whatever. So I'm trying to narrow it down to a certain audience there. You get what I'm saying? If you're outside of that, you need help, right? Go and look with your 401k provider. You know, in your 401k statement, there's an advisor, usually on the right-hand side. They got their phone number over there. You're allowed to call and ask them questions. Okay. If they won't help you, or they say, hey, give me the money and then I'll help you, or give you some sales pitch, Jazz Wealth, right? We're happy to help you. The reason that I point out, if you're in that 12% bracket, and I'm talking the upper range of the 12% bracket, and you're close to retirement, the reason you may not want to convert is for actually a few reasons. One is there's probably more efficient times in the future to convert where we can show an effective tax rate that's lower. Another reason is you might be getting, if you're like 62 and a half, 63, you're getting close to that 2-year look back for Medicare, right? We may not want to show that income on paper. That's not true for everybody. This is really tricky. It's like not something Dave Ramsey would say because, it doesn't hit everybody. And I like Dave Ramsey, so I'm not like picking on him. But there is a good reason to go, hey, I heard what you said. Is that me? And then, if we say, well, no, that's not you, then by all means, have at it. But you want to be careful about that if you're making married filing jointly, making over 95 roughly, and you're about 60 years of age, especially if that retirement's at 62, 65, getting in there somewhere. We want to sort of weigh the differences there. And that can all be modeled out. It's fine. A couple other reasons. If you sold a business, if you sold an asset, you sold a house for over $500,000 of total profit, maybe this isn't the best year for you to convert. Why is that? Well, you have a capital gain to pay. And what? You have a stock market that has moved your portfolio value to nearly all-time highs. Okay, why do we want to layer those two things on top of each other? We have say you sold a rental property you've had for a while, right? Or you had an inheritance, and so you took a large RMD from an inherited IRA. Why do we want to convert in the same year? We want to work out other tax strategies there. So a little bit different there if you're going to focus on that. If you sold your primary residence, this is not everybody, but if you sold your primary residence, you're married filing jointly, and you made $1.2 million on the sale of that house. Well, part of that's going to be taxable, right? Why do we want to add to that in that context? Now, I'm not saying it's, whatever type of capital gain we're going to talk about there, but I'm just saying, like, that's where the questions come up. Do I convert? Do I not convert? You got to ask that question. We want, ideally, when we're talking about conversions, the reason we're doing it is because we've identified a way to make the total tax payment over your life lower than if you just did what you're supposed to do. And if that's the case, then we want to follow that plan. It may not mean converting in 2024. It may not mean converting it probably would mean converting in 2025 because the tax laws are supposed to revert back to the way they were prior to the Trump tax credits. I don't know. We want to work that stuff out. These are those little efficiencies where a financial advisor goes, hey, your portfolio grew with or better than the market. Great. However, I saved you a lot of money because, by the way, we also decided not to convert until next year, and that's going to save you 2.2% or whatever. That's growth. Those are the things that really wake me up in the morning, get me excited to go, I have a plan for somebody. If it saves you money, that's a form of a return. So I hope you'll check us out at jazzwealth.com. I appreciate you guys watching here tonight. you should really consider skipping a conversion if the stock market is at all-time highs and your portfolio is also at all-time highs. You might want to consider skipping conversions if your tax bracket's right around 12% and you're about to spill into the 22%, right? 10% difference. If you're 30 years old, I don't care. Do it, right? And you have the money to pay for the tax, of course, do it. But that's 10%. You're 30 years old. You're going to make up the difference by the time you're 60, 65, 70, 72, whatever you decide. If you have sold a major asset that has significant value, a business, you had a invention that you're now collecting large royalties on that are front loaded or something like that. I've seen it all, right? You got a lot of company stock this year because you were finally vested and they decided to give it to you and they awarded you more and you got a 15% discount. See where I'm going with this? There's no solution, or there's no amount of things we haven't heard of here. So I hope you'll check us out at jazzwealth.com. For the rest of you, Battle Hill single malt Scotch whiskey. It's good. Thumbs up on this one. Again, I'll go back to, this is empty now. Jacob's Pardon. Pardon me, but I will not be drinking that one anymore. That is a tough one. As my dad would say, puts hair on your chest. Woo. Anyways, I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. If I helped you in some way, check us out at jazzwealth.com. Otherwise, worst case, you hit the subscribe button. You don't even have to turn a bell on. Just hit subscribe. It makes us look bigger than the money guys and all the other people out there. We are the 66th ranked advisor in the entire United States. The other guys, not so much, man. I pick on them. I like those guys. Anyways, have a great rest of your evening. We will see you when we see you. Adios.